Welcome to this brief exploration of the CANS New York 2.0 for children ages 6 to 21. This short video will illustrate the changes and adjustments that have been made to the CANS New York tool by comparing the current tool to the CANS New York 2.0. We'll highlight domain, module, and item changes. The CANS New York continues to serve as an information integration tool and is designed to support person-centered care coordination. The process for how the CANS New York 2.0 is executed will not change and will continue to be used with children and families. Transformational Collaborative Outcomes Management, or TCOM, is still the philosophy, approach, and strategy used to focus on personal change by developing a shared vision. TCOM tools allow us to produce relevant and meaningful outcomes and to use the information we gather to support families to coordinate care for their children. The 6 key principles of the CANS New York also apply to the CANS New York 2.0. At the heart of the CANS New York is engagement. Meaningful engagement with families builds the essential trust and rapport needed for families to share their stories and, as a result, receive the appropriate supports to care for their children or youth. One of the primary purposes for the CANS New York 2.0 is to support the development of a meaningful plan of care for families. Because the CANS New York has remained unchanged since 2016, this essential tool has been modernized in 2 key aspects. Language used in the CANS New York 2.0 is now more culturally responsive, and item definitions and descriptions have been revised to enhance clarity. Updates affecting the day-to-day use of the CANS New York include reorganized domains and items, a reduction in the total number of items, and changes in item rating language. Each adaptation has been designed to better capture the unique needs of children and their families. Here is a side-by-side comparison of the basic domain structure of the current CANS New York versus the CANS New York 2.0. The core items are rated for all children. Assessment modules are triggered by the core items, depending on the needs of the individual. In the former version of the tool, screening questions activated additional modules. In the CANS New York 2.0, extension module items are now within the domain that is most relevant to the child's condition. Now for a closer look at each domain. Child Needs and Functioning domain has been renamed Life Functioning domain. 4 modules are included in this new domain. Medical Health module is indicated by the Medical Physical item. Developmental Needs module is activated by the Developmental Intellectual item. Self-care activities of daily living and trauma are items that activate the module for each. This section is rated using the action level ratings for needs. The following items have been updated for the Life Functioning domain. Acculturation language has been moved to cultural factors. Physical limitations and dental are now explored within the Medical Physical item. Decision-making judgment is now decision-making. Juvenile Justice Legal is now legal. The Family Functioning item has been added as a new item. The Sexual Development item has been added as a new item. School Academic Functioning is now explored within the Life Functioning domain and is no longer a domain itself, as in the former version of the tool. Educational Partnership has moved to the Strengths domain and is named Educational Assets. Looking at the items within the Medical Health module, the information focuses on the severity and complexity of a child's medical condition. The purpose is to determine the care coordination needs of a child. In the Medical Health module, Emotional Response has been updated to Child or Youth's Emotional Response. Intensity of Treatment is now Intensity of Treatment Support. The list of items within the Developmental Needs module includes areas of support for the unique developmental needs of children and their caregivers. Self-care activities of daily living module includes the items specific to a child's capacity to independently manage their condition. The trauma module items are divided into 2 parts. The first section, Potentially Traumatic Adverse Experiences, rates the known or suspected instances of trauma in the child or youth's life. These items are static indicators, meaning they either happened or they did not. These items are rated based on a lifetime experience. If the child or youth has ever experienced these specific traumatic events, the items are rated as a yes. If they have not, then rate as a no. Items that describe traumatic events have been reduced or collapsed to better reflect the nationally recognized list of adverse childhood experiences. The second section, Trauma Symptoms, provides context to any traumatic stress symptoms or trauma-related behaviors that the child or youth may exhibit. Traumatic grief and dissociation have been removed from the Trauma Symptoms section. Effective psychological dysregulation has been changed to emotional and/or physical dysregulation. Transition to adulthood is no longer a module that is activated by screening questions. Transition to adulthood is now a domain completed for all youth 14 years of age or older. For those children with developmental needs who are age 14 and older, this domain is completed based on a rating of 0, 1, or 2 on the cognitive item within the developmental needs module. 3 items have been removed from this section: youth relationship to the system, career aspirations, and intimate relationships. All 3 of these need-based items are now captured within other items on the CANS New York 2.0. The Independent Living Skills item activates items in the Independent Activities of Daily Living module. These items are specific to a young person preparing to live on their own. The Communication Device Use item is now Technology Use. Housing Safety has been moved to the Risk Factors and Behaviors domain. The Behavioral and Emotional Needs domain now identifies the behavioral health needs of the child or youth. While the CANS New York is not a diagnostic tool, it is designed to be consistent with diagnostic communication. Impulsivity is now Impulsivity Hyperactivity. The oppositional item is now Oppositional Behavior. Attachment has been changed to Attachment Difficulties. Eating disturbance has been moved to this domain from the Risk Behaviors domain. Substance Misuse item will now activate the Substance Misuse module. The Substance Misuse module items describe the frequency and severity related to the misuse of alcohol, illegal drugs, prescription medications, and the inhalation of any chemical or synthetic substance by the child or youth. The peer influences and stage of recovery items remain the same in this module. The Risk Factors and Behaviors domain rates dangerous behaviors that put the child or youth at risk of harming themselves or others. This domain is separated into 2 sections: Risk Factors and Risk Behaviors. The Risk Factors section includes substance exposure and housing safety and accessibility. Substance exposure now focuses on both exposure before birth, in utero, and after birth in the household. This is a shift from the in utero only approach in the previous version of the CANS New York. Changes in the Risk Behaviors section include: self-injurious behavior is now non-suicidal self-injurious behavior. Other self-harm is now other self-harm, recklessness. The sexually reactive behavior item is now part of the sexual development item in the life functioning domain. Eating disturbance has shifted to the behavioral emotional needs domain. The Cultural Factors domain identifies linguistic or cultural concerns for which service providers need to make accommodations, such as providing an interpreter, finding a therapist who speaks the family's primary language, and/or ensuring that any child in an out-of-home setting can participate in cultural rituals associated with their cultural identity. Items in the Cultural Factors domain describe difficulties that children or youth may experience or encounter because of their membership in a cultural group, and/or because of a relationship between members of that group and members of the dominant society. Culture in this domain is described broadly to include cultural groups that are racial, ethnic, or religious, or are based on age, sexual orientation, gender identity, socioeconomic status, and/or geography. Literature exploring issues of healthcare disparity states that race and/or ethnic group membership may be a primary influence on health outcomes. When rating these items and creating a treatment or service plan, the cultural concerns in this domain should be considered in relation to their impact on the life of the child or youth. The new items that are explored in this domain are language, cultural stress, and knowledge congruence. The Strengths domain describes the assets of the child or youth that can be used to advance healthy development. Increasing youth strengths while also addressing their behavioral and emotional needs leads to better functioning and better outcomes. Identifying areas where strengths can be built is a significant element of service planning. Changes to this domain include: family and foster family are now captured under the Family Strengths item. Social relationships with adults are captured under the Interpersonal item. Resourcefulness and persistence have been removed. Educational assets and natural supports have been added to the strengths domain. Caregiver resources and needs domain captures the needs within the caregiving environment. The items in this section represent caregivers' potential areas of need, while simultaneously highlighting the areas in which the caregivers can be a resource for the child or youth. Changes to the items within this domain include: physical health is now medical physical. Decision-making is now problem-solving. Parental stress is now family stress. Partner relationship and legal have been removed from this domain. Acculturation, language, cultural stress, cultural differences within the family, as well as knowledge congruence, have been removed. However, culture is now explicitly explored in the cultural factors domain. Family relationship to the system has been renamed Family System Engagement. Access to technology has been added as a new item.
These changes to the CANS New York 2.0 are the direct result of a deep analysis of 7 years' worth of health home-serving children utilization data and the extensive collection of stakeholder feedback. All updates seen in the CANS New York 2.0 reflect the commitment to continuously improve the quality of support and services for children, youth, and their families in New York.
The CANS New York Technical Assistance Institute team is ready to assist with any needs you may have related to the CANS New York 2.0. Coaches are available to help with certification, support, and use of the tool and practice, and to answer any questions you may have about changes in the CANS New York 2.0 at help@cansnyinstitute.org. The live training calendar, recorded webinars, how-to instructions and tip sheets, and a complete reference guide ready for download are all available on our website, www.cansnyinstitute.org.